The 2014-15 school year, police arrested 10 Clark County School District staffers on sex-related charges.
2015-16 school year, 10 more arrested, but some cases, like Ramiro Garcia's, were dismissed. This school year, 11 more arrested, 31 over the last 3 years.
We heard from some of the victims, their parents, from teachers. We hear you, and we took your concerns to the Clark County School District. Let's go back in time. February 5th, 2014.
We're extremely sorry that their students were put in this situation.
Admitting mistakes that left 5- and 6-year-olds in the hands of a suspected sex predator.
June 2015, FOX5 asked the Clark County School District Police what it's doing to prevent more teacher sex abuse cases.
We will investigate all rumors, innuendos. We will look at those gut feelings somebody may have.
April 2016.
Police say Loft House and the victim began texting.
After another rash of teacher arrests,
they started exchanging texts. That eventually led to kissing.
We asked the district for an interview. They said no, but sent us a written statement. All district employees receive annual training regarding appropriate relationships with students. Employees are also made aware of signs to watch for amongst their colleagues and students, indicating that something inappropriate may be occurring so they can be effective in reporting these actions. Employee training is regularly updated to reflect new laws and relevant technology. May 2016, police arrested another teacher. FOX5 once again reached out to Ccsd.
Ccsd administration declined any on-camera interviews today. However, they issued a statement saying, in part, all district employees receive annual training regarding appropriate relationships with students. Employees are also made aware of signs to watch for amongst their colleagues and students, indicating that something inappropriate may be occurring. Employee training is regularly updated to reflect new laws and relevant technology.
The exact same statement.
If we work as a team, I think these instances will go down.
But they haven't. In fact, they've gone up. For months after each arrest, we heard little from the school district, nothing from the superintendent.
Did the school district have anything to say about this latest case?
They are staying tight-lipped.
We reached out to the school and to the Clark County School District today, but neither would comment about these allegations.
Wednesday, Thursday, and today. We asked the Clark County School District to talk to us about this latest case. They told us they do not want to talk about it.
I reached out to Superintendent Pat Skorkowski. No response from an email I sent him directly.
Interview with the superintendent.
The person I spoke to said since it was a controversial topic, the superintendent most likely would not do the interview.
Since it's controversial, it might not be granted.
I tried again.
We haven't heard from him, and I think it's reassuring to hear from the man at the top.
This time, the spokesperson told me he's very busy and couldn't squeeze me in at all this spring.
Whenever he's available.
Pat Skorkowski did cancel on us. Yeah, I was a little disappointed. I understand that he's really busy.
We came here to Rancho High School to try to talk to him about the issues. Just found out he's not showing up.
So I sat down with the chief human resources for the district. Investigations into the teachers arrested for inappropriate relationships with students show the vast majority use texts and social media to communicate with students.
Since April of last year, what social media policy changes have been enacted?
There has not been a formalized social media policy implemented. There's still discussions on how best to do that. The difficulty with implementing social media policies is ensuring that we don't take away the good when we're trying to catch the bad.
After that interview, Superintendent Skorkowski called a news conference.
We're looking at other states and other large urban districts to determine what are appropriate social media guidelines to ensure the safety of our students.
District leaders showed us the 10-minute training video each employee has to watch.
All district staff should ask their administrative supervisor about approved methods for communicating with students outside the classroom.
A theme of the training video? News headlines.
We love when our employees make media headlines. Please make sure you're on the right side of those headlines.
School District Police Captain Ken Young told us our reporting draws more attention to the issue.
The way that you all report sometimes. You report the arrest, the actual trial, you report the conviction. So each time that it comes back up, it feels like a new case.
The reason these cases make so much news is because they are rare.
Ccsd is large, one of the largest school districts in the country. So is Miami-Dade. We reached out to their school leaders to see how Clark County stacks up. Clark County employs 41,123 full and part-time employees. Miami-Dade, 38,324. Clark County has 320,400 students from kindergarten through 12th grade. Miami-Dade, 349,569. Clark County staffers arrested on sex-related charges this school year, 11. Miami-Dade, 3.
I don't think it's blown out of proportion when it comes to the safety of our children.
We want to keep our kids safe. I called the school district, I called the school, got met with no comment from everybody I talked to.
The district assured us it's doing all it can during the hiring process.
Any teacher that's hired by the school district must go through a background check. That's a local check as well as an FBI check as well.
We actually have to go through an extensive process that includes licensing with the state of Nevada, and so they do not receive a license until that FBI check is complete.
That's how it's supposed to work. But Julian Lefay was in the classroom teaching without a Nevada license. She was one of more than 300 unlicensed teachers in Clark County School District the 2015-16 school year. Police arrested Lefay and charged her for having sex with a student.
Everything was clear before they came into the district, and then chose to actually exert poor behavior and make horrible choices that impacted students' lives.
In reality, some have been caught before.
What happens when someone who has a prior history offends again within the Clark County School District? Is that something that just falls through the cracks?
I'm not sure what question you're asking again.
So, for example, do you remember this man?
I don't know names.
This is Melvin Sprosen. Melvin Sprosen used to work for the Los Angeles Unified School District. And when he was accused, he resigned and then got a job with the Clark County School District, and then ended up kidnapping a student.
The superintendent remembers. In 2014, he publicly apologized for hiring Sprosen.
We made a mistake here, and in this situation, it's something that should have been caught.
So what has changed since February of 2014, when the superintendent publicly apologized and said, hey, we messed up in hiring this person?
If they pass both checks, whether it's local or FBI, the only thing that would remain if someone was released from another school district, if there was an investigation but no charges. So we're at the mercy of one another, school districts sharing information to determine if there was something that happened. Otherwise, that person could get hired.
FOX5 found a lawsuit against Sprosen and the Los Angeles Unified School District for unlawful sex acts with a minor. It's public record, but the Clark County School District background check didn't find it. In 2014, FOX5 asked about more thorough background checks.
I'm not opposed to looking at that, but I also have to be realistic about the cost involved, and then making sure that I have the time to do that.
3 years later, what's changed?
If we check references, because that's all you can really do is check references and run the scopes, if people aren't being honest and will indicate that information, then we are at the mercy and people could slip through the process if not careful.
So Melvin Sprosen slipped through the process. He could now face life in prison for child pornography, kidnapping, and child abuse or neglect. May 1st, Ccsd hosted a news conference for Teacher Appreciation Week. Superintendent Pat Skorkowski was there. His handler reluctantly let us ask 3 questions about the teacher arrests.
One of the biggest challenges we face is that if anybody has a history of this and it's not disclosed during the application process, if it has happened outside of our state, or then we have no way of knowing.
His handler stepped in.
I'm not aware of any teacher that had been criminally charged or even arrested before coming here. Okay. What happens is sometimes teachers are investigated and then they work out a deal, and then we don't know about it when we hire them.
Those are cases when a teacher was investigated in a different school district.
But we found CCSD employees who were reported investigated. They kept working only to be arrested after more allegations. That part of our investigation up next.
If anybody has a history of this and it's not disclosed during the application process, if it has happened outside of our state, or then we have no way of knowing.
But FOX5 found out in some cases the Clark County School District did know.
Each case is looked at individually, and if there are red flags and it is something that we are concerned about, then most certainly they will be removed until we can get to the bottom of the investigation.
But FOX5 found that's not always how it works.
Do you remember this man?
I don't remember because I can't comment on individual cases.
This is Jeremiah Mezzo. In 2008, he was accused within the Clark County School District. Those charges were dismissed, and then he was arrested again in 2016.
Jeremiah Mezzo is facing up to 60 years in prison for sexually abusing some of his students. But parents of the victims don't think he's the only one to blame.
They made a huge, huge mistake here. And by just trying to sweep this under the rug and ignoring it. This defense that the Clark County School District keeps putting out there that, well, the criminal court dismissed these charges in 2008, there's nothing we can do. That position is ludicrous.
Police arrested bus driver Michael Benko in 2015. Investigators say the 20-year Clark County School District veteran raped special needs victims on the school bus. When she saw that story on the news, this mom, who doesn't want to be identified, told FOX5 what she said happened to her autistic son 20 years earlier when Michael Benko was a substitute bus driver.
He had visible bruising and scrapes around his neck. I can't even tell you as a parent what that feels like when you see something like that happen to your child.
The boy couldn't articulate exactly what happened.
My son said, Mike did it. And my husband said, who's Mike? And my son said, the bus driver.
So she settled with the school district to keep from pushing her already regressing son to tell them more, but now wishes she didn't. She told us she thinks the school district could have prevented the alleged rape and molestation.
And I am heartsick, and I am mournful for those parents because those are things that have been taken from them they'll never get back. Their child's innocence is gone.
June 2016, the Clark County School District Police investigated Tarkanian Middle School custodian Jesus Acosta for engaging in email and/or text conversations with two 6th graders. After that investigation, the school principal talked to Acosta about his interactions with students. The principal gave him a summary of conference. Both Acosta and the principal signed it. The principal told Acosta, don't exchange phone numbers, email, social media, or addresses with students. Don't become too close or friendly. Keep it professional. He went back to work. 9 months later, March 2017, police arrested Acosta on 3 counts of unlawful contact with a minor. That same month, Henderson police arrested Brown Junior High School science teacher Jeffrey Schultz.
I got a phone call from the school that my daughter had a teacher spoke to her and made her feel uncomfortable.
Ultimately, we had 3 young females who were in his science class, and Mr. Schultz, after the class was over, actually told those students to stay behind, and at that point he had some very inappropriate questions and discussion with them.
A Henderson detective called Dakota and his wife Christina to talk about Jeffrey Schultz.
The reason he was calling us is because my daughter had filed a written complaint against the teacher for some inappropriate things he had done to her.
Their daughter was in his science class last year.
At the time, we didn't know anything about this. My daughter didn't tell me, the school didn't call.
I asked her, how come you didn't tell us? And she's like, well, because they told me not to.
They is Brown principal Wendy Phelps.
Is Principal Phelps around?
Phelps didn't return our phone calls.
So she won't give us a call back?
Our crew was escorted off school property when we went to the front office. We weren't the only ones.
The principal won't speak to any of the families regarding the situation. The district won't speak to any of the families.
My children deserve better than no comment. And as parents, we all deserve better than no comment.
The Ruth's then 12-year-old daughter went to the principal to complain about Schultz.
And she basically said, yes, I had a class with him. I also had a class across the hall from him. So twice a day I would have to walk down the hall and he'd be staying in the hall. And every time he would say something inappropriate to her.
He pointed her out in front of the classroom, told her she was perfect, and started rubbing her shoulders.
He told me another time that my legs looked really nice, and she said that once he told her that she looked very sexy today.
Last year when I brought it to Ms. Phelps' attention, she told me, you know, you realize you could jeopardize someone's career.
We also heard from this parent.
And I was extremely upset because I tried to prevent this back in October.
Last fall, she told us her daughter wanted out of Jeffrey Schultz's class.
She said, I'm very uncomfortable. He started the year saying that he's a touchy-feely kind of teacher and not to worry about it. She said that he not only just touched her shoulder, but he took both hands, put them on her shoulder, and kind of massaged. And she said she squirmed. It was very uncomfortable, and it was in the middle of class, and she was like, "This is creepy. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't like him."
She told us she and her daughter reported it to the counselor, vice principal, and Principal Phelps.
Over and over and over, I heard, "That's just how he is." And I kept saying to them, that's not how a teacher should be.
Fox 5 got a hold of Schultz's police paperwork. April 2016, Schultz was called in for a disciplinary hearing. Why? A student complained. She said Schultz made her uncomfortable. She said he holds her hand and rubs her shoulders. Schultz got a notice of investigatory interview. Administrators made behavior correction recommendations.
Why did you know about these incidences in 2013 and still let him teach at our school?
In March 2013, Schultz was a teacher at Bailey Middle School. School leaders investigated him there for inappropriate conversations with students. The punishment? Behavior correction recommendations. Back to the latest case, February 2017, the vice principal, Brianna Robinson, talked to Schultz and served him, once again, with a notice of investigatory interview. Subject matter, inappropriate conversation with students. Schultz signed the form and went back to teaching.
If that was your daughter, what would you do? How would you feel?
Our Fox 5 investigation continues when we come back.
In 2008, Jeremiah Mezzo was arrested and charged for sexually abusing students when he was a teacher at Simmons Elementary School. Those charges were dropped. He transferred to Hayden Elementary School just 3 miles away. Police arrested him for similar crimes in 2015.
2013, Jeffrey Schultz was a teacher at Bailey Middle School, and then that's where administrators investigated him for inappropriate conversations with students. He transferred to Brown Junior High School. Police arrested him there for similar crimes.
It's not right. You know, these are our children. We need to protect them, and they need to be protected in school.
Chad Jensen told us his 13-year-old daughter's teacher, Jeffrey Schultz, asked her and 2 friends what kind of underwear they were wearing. That's why Henderson police arrested the Brown Junior High teacher.
Detectives responded to Brown Middle School in regards to allegations of a substitute teacher that may have had inappropriate contact with a student.
One of the 3 students in that case, Chad Jensen's other daughter, his 11-year-old.
She just said that, you know, they were sitting in class and he touched another girl's, you know, shoulders and I guess touched one's butt, and then he touched her leg and like ran his hand up her thigh.
Police are investigating the teacher. That teacher has not been arrested or charged.
Doesn't make sense how so many teachers are doing this, let alone the same school within 3 months, and it happened to my 2 daughters. It's just ridiculous.
Brown Junior High parents have been passing around a petition to get rid of the principal. It reads in part, "Wendy Phelps has withheld information about the safety of our children and the background of teachers at Brown Junior High. As a person trusted with teaching and guarding our children, we must be able to count on the principal to make the right choice. She clearly has not. Please sign the petition below to help try and remove Wendy Phelps from her role as principal of Brown Junior High School."
The principal failed her.
Well, if they're worried about the students, how come we're going on 3, 4, 5, 6 instances with this teacher? It's just ridiculous.
I asked Clark County School District Police Captain Ken Young about Principal Phelps.
Are you investigating any other school employees?
I'm not sure of actually what our caseload is right now. That I don't know. In some of these cases, when they look at the initial information, there is no validity to it. In some cases don't get reported to us. Sometimes they're handled administratively.
Should it get passed along to you?
Well, we definitely advocate anytime there's a rumor that it comes to law enforcement. That's one of the things that we definitely advocate, and are from district-wide. You know, if you hear of something like that, you know, report it to law enforcement. Let us take a look at it.
And if that's not happening, is that a problem?
That's something that's being dealt with administratively, not with us.
Okay, CCSD, police handoff to you.
Once something is reported, is CCSD to be contacted immediately?
We're made aware of what's happening. If the person has to be removed from the campus immediately or whatever that needs to happen, the school district police, in consultation with Metro, will make those determinations as to what the next step would be. But once an accusation is made, generally the person is removed from the building.
But remember this, Jeffrey Schultz was accused, investigated, and he went back to class.
I won't be able to speak to that particular case, but the procedures are that they notify school district police immediately, and that is what should happen.
That should happen. Police definitely advocate that it comes to law enforcement. But how many of these things that should actually do? How many recommendations are actually followed? And how many cases fall through the cracks? How many victims should have been spared?
What's your message to the victims out there?
To the victims, as a student, there are some no-touch areas. There are some areas that you should not go into as it relates to dealing with an employee. We tell them to wait, for certain types of relationships. We tell them that, that your teachers and your coaches are there for one specific reason, not to be involved with you. That's not the reason that they're there.
That is the message the Clark County School District police captain has for students who, by law, were victimized by teachers or school employees. Some, including people within the Clark County School District, think the teachers union protects teachers accused of sex-related crimes. We'll post our Fox 5 investigation on our website, fox5vegas.com.
Join the conversation on our Fox 5 Facebook page. Fox 5 News at 11 is next.